What if your life is not stuck? Your habits are? For years, I believed I needed more motivation. I thought I needed the right time, the right people, the right opportunity. But I was wrong. I did not need a new life. I needed new habits. There was a time when my days felt heavy. I woke up tired. I wasted hours on small things. I reacted to everything. My emotions controlled me. My phone controlled me. Other people's opinions controlled me. On the outside, my life looked normal. But inside, I felt weak. One day I asked myself a painful question. If I continue like this for 5 years, where will I be? The answer scared me. That was the moment I understood something powerful. Life does not change when you wish. Life changes when you repeat. Small habits, daily actions, quiet discipline. I did not change everything at once. I changed one behavior at a time. Slowly, my habits changed my mindset. My mindset changed my identity. And my identity changed my future. Today, I want to share the 10 habits that changed my life forever. These are simple habits. But simple does not mean easy. If you truly apply them, your life will never be the same. Habit 1. Protect your energy. There was a time when I gave my energy to everyone. I argued to prove I was right. I defended myself in conversations that did not matter. I tried to correct every misunderstanding. I thought strength meant responding to everything. But slowly, I noticed something dangerous. After these conversations, I felt tired. Not physically tired, but mentally drained. My focus disappeared. My motivation became weak. And the worst part was this. Nothing actually changed. The people who wanted drama still wanted drama. The people who misunderstood me still misunderstood me. That is when I learned a life-changing truth. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Energy is limited. You wake up every day with a certain amount of mental and emotional power. If you waste it on arguments, gossip, negativity, and useless debates, you will have nothing left for your dreams. Protecting your energy does not mean you become rude. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you become selective. You choose where to invest your attention. You choose peace over proving a point. I started practicing emotional discipline. When someone tried to pull me into unnecessary drama, I paused. I did not react immediately. I asked myself, will this matter in 1 year? Most of the time, the answer was no. So I stayed silent. At first, silence felt uncomfortable. My ego wanted to speak. My pride wanted to win. But silence gave me something arguments never gave me. Control. When you do not react, you stay powerful. When you do not explain yourself to everyone, you protect your confidence. When you avoid toxic conversations, your mind becomes calm and clear. And clarity creates strength. Over time, I noticed a powerful change. I had more focus for my goals. I had more patience with important people. I felt lighter. My life became quieter, but my progress became louder. Protecting your energy is not weakness. It is maturity. It is self-respect. And once you learn to guard your peace, your entire life begins to level up. Habit 2. Speak less. Observe more. There was a period in my life when I believed talking made me confident. I shared my plans with everyone. I explained my goals in detail. I gave my opinion in every discussion. I thought speaking more meant I was strong and intelligent, but slowly I began to notice something uncomfortable. The more I talked, the less I learned. The more I explained, the less I observed. And sometimes, the more I shared, the more people doubted or quietly judged my ambitions. One day, I decided to experiment. Instead of speaking first, I would listen first. Instead of reacting quickly, I would pause. Instead of trying to impress people with words, I would observe them with attention. That small shift changed everything. When you speak less, you start to see details you never noticed before. You see how people treat waiters. You hear the insecurity hidden behind someone's loud voice. You notice who interrupts others and who listens patiently. Observation reveals character, and character tells you who to trust. I began to understand that wisdom does not come from constant expression. It comes from careful observation. When you listen deeply, people show you their fears, their ambitions, and their true intentions. Words are powerful, but silence is more powerful because it gives you information. Speaking less also reduced my mistakes. Many problems in life begin with unnecessary words. A careless comment can damage a relationship. An emotional reaction can create regret. By slowing down and observing first, I made better decisions. My responses became thoughtful instead of impulsive. There was another benefit I did not expect. When you speak less about your plans, you protect your energy. Not everyone needs to know your next move. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Some people will support you. Others will project their fears onto you. Silence keeps your vision safe while you build it. Over time, I became more confident. Not because I talked more, but because I understood more. I learned to ask better questions. I learned to read situations before acting. I learned that real intelligence is calm. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the person who truly listens becomes rare, and rare people become valuable. Speaking less does not mean you become invisible. It means your words carry weight. When you finally speak, people pay attention. This habit taught me patience. It taught me emotional control. And most importantly, it taught me that observation is a superpower. Habit 3. 1 hour with no internet. There was a time when I believed I was productive because I was always connected. My phone was always near me. Notifications were always on. I told myself I needed the internet for learning, for communication, for growth. But if I was honest, most of my time was not spent learning. It was spent scrolling, jumping from one video to another, one message to another, one distraction to another. My mind was busy all day, yet I achieved very little. One evening, I tried to sit quietly for 20 minutes without touching my phone. I failed. My hand automatically reached for it. That moment scared me. If I could not sit alone with my own thoughts, was I really in control? So I made a simple rule. 1 hour every day with no internet, no scrolling, no notifications, no checking messages, no background videos, just me and my mind. The first few days were uncomfortable. I felt bored, restless. My brain wanted stimulation. I realized I had trained my mind to expect constant entertainment. Silence felt empty. But I stayed consistent. After a week, something surprising happened. My thoughts became clearer. I could focus longer. Ideas started appearing naturally. Problems that felt complicated became easier to solve because my mind was not overloaded with information. When you remove digital noise, your mental strength increases. You begin to think deeply instead of reacting quickly. You start creating instead of consuming. That 1 hour became my most valuable time of the day. Sometimes I used it to plan my goals. Sometimes I read a physical book. Sometimes I simply thought about my life. I asked myself important questions. What am I avoiding? What do I truly want? What habits are holding me back? The internet is not the enemy, but uncontrolled internet use is. If you do not control your attention, someone else will. Every notification is competing for your focus, and focus is one of the most powerful tools you have. This habit taught me discipline in a modern world full of distractions. It strengthened my ability to concentrate. It improved my patience. It reduced anxiety because my brain finally had time to rest. Freedom is not about having unlimited access. Freedom is about having control. When you can sit for 1 hour without the internet and feel calm, you know you are stronger than your impulses. And when you control your attention, you start controlling your future. Habit 4. Track every dollar I spend. For a long time, I avoided looking at my money closely. I told myself I did not spend that much. I believed small purchases did not matter. A coffee here, a snack there, an online order late at night. Individually, they looked harmless. But at the end of every month, I felt stressed. I did not understand where my money had gone. That confusion created anxiety, and anxiety weakened my confidence. One day, I decided to face the truth. I started writing down every single expense, every coffee, every transport fare, every subscription, every impulse purchase. At first it was uncomfortable. I saw patterns I did not like. I noticed emotional spending when I felt bored or stressed. I noticed how small daily habits were silently shaping my financial future. The numbers did not lie. But instead of feeling ashamed, I chose to feel aware. Awareness is the first step to control. When you track your money, you begin to understand your behavior. You see what you truly value. You see where you are careless. And once you see clearly, you can improve intentionally. This habit was not only about saving money. It was about building discipline. Money reflects self-control. If you cannot manage small amounts wisely, how will you manage larger opportunities in the future? Tracking my expenses forced me to think before spending. I began asking simple questions. Do I really need this? Is this helping my growth? Am I buying this out of emotion or purpose? Those small pauses changed everything. Slowly, I became more intentional. I stopped buying things to impress others. I stopped spending to escape boredom. I started saving with purpose. I started investing in books, learning, and tools that improved my future. Financial discipline also strengthened my confidence. When you know where your money goes, you feel in control. Control reduces stress. Reduced stress increases focus, and focus improves performance in every area of life. Money is not just currency. It is stored effort. It represents your time and energy. When you spend carelessly, you waste effort. When you spend wisely, you respect your work. This habit taught me responsibility. It taught me patience. It taught me long-term thinking. Wealth does not begin with a big salary. Wealth begins with small discipline. Habit 5. 10 minutes of sitting alone in silence. For years, I was terrified of silence. My mind was always busy. I filled every moment with music, notifications, videos, and conversations. Even small pockets of quiet made me uneasy. I avoided being alone with my thoughts because I was afraid of what I might discover about myself. But I also noticed a problem. When I was constantly distracted, I could not focus. I overreacted emotionally, and I lost touch with my own desires and feelings. So I decided to try a small, daily habit, sitting alone in silence for 10 minutes. No music, no phone, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. At first I would schedule this at odd times, sometimes in the morning, sometimes late at night, just to see if I could manage it consistently. The first few days were uncomfortable. My mind raced. I thought about the past, the future, and all my worries. I fidgeted. I almost gave up, but I forced myself to stay. I reminded myself that discomfort is often the first sign of growth, and that by confronting this small challenge, I could strengthen my mental resilience. Slowly, something powerful began to happen. Sitting quietly made me notice my thoughts without judgment. I became aware of my fears, insecurities, and dreams. I started observing my emotions instead of reacting to them. I realized how often I had been controlled by my own mental chatter. I began to see patterns in my behavior, moments when I was reactive, impatient, or anxious, and learned to gently redirect my mind. Those 10 minutes each day became a sanctuary, a space to reset, reflect, and plan my day with intention. I started visualizing my goals, breaking them into manageable steps, and considering the small actions I could take to move forward. I also discovered that facing silence allowed me to process emotions I had ignored, releasing stress and tension I did not even know I was carrying. Over weeks, these short sessions began to accumulate profound benefits. My focus sharpened. I became more mindful in conversations and decisions. Creativity flowed more freely, as my brain had time to generate ideas without constant input. I handled stressful situations with greater calm, and my emotional responses became measured and thoughtful. I understood myself better than I ever had. Being comfortable alone is one of the most underrated superpowers. It allows you to recharge, reflect, and realign your priorities. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to face the truth about themselves. But truth is empowering. By facing it daily, I gained clarity, patience, and resilience. By embracing this habit, I transformed my inner world. I became unstoppable, more disciplined, and emotionally resilient. And all it took was 10 intentional minutes each day. A small practice that created a profound impact on every aspect of my life. Habit 6. Finish what I start. For a long time, I struggled with unfinished projects. I would begin a book, an online course, a personal plan, or even small tasks. But halfway through, I would lose interest or become distracted. Each incomplete task left me feeling frustrated and unfulfilled. I realized that these unfinished actions were not just wasted time. They were broken promises to myself. They eroded my confidence self-trust, and my sense of achievement. Then I made a clear decision. I would finish everything I started before moving on to something new. No excuses, no skipping steps, no abandoning progress because it became uncomfortable. This rule was simple, but applying it consistently required discipline. Completion builds confidence in ways nothing else can. Every task finished, no matter how small, reminded me that I am reliable, capable, and committed. The first few weeks were challenging. My mind craved novelty, excitement, and instant gratification. Old habits of leaving projects incomplete fought against me. I had to push through moments of boredom, frustration, and impatience. But slowly, I noticed a shift. I began to trust myself more, and the satisfaction of finishing a task became far more rewarding than the fleeting thrill of starting something new. Finishing what you start does more than complete tasks. It shapes your identity. Your brain begins to recognize you as someone who follows through. That identity carries into every area of life: relationships, work, learning, and personal growth. Consistency and completion become part of who you are, and this transforms how others perceive you as well. Over time, this habit built resilience and patience. It taught me to embrace the process, not just the outcome. I learned to focus on steady progress rather than instant results. Completing tasks gave me energy and clarity. It reinforced a mindset of accountability and purpose, making me proactive instead of reactive. This habit also increased my motivation. Once I started finishing small tasks, I realized I could handle larger, more complex goals. My confidence grew, and procrastination decreased. I became someone who takes responsibility for my actions and sees things through, which improved my relationships, productivity, and personal satisfaction. When you adopt this habit, every day becomes meaningful. Every project, no matter how small, contributes to a larger pattern of success. You start to approach life with confidence and reliability. People notice your consistency. More importantly, you notice your own growth. Finishing what you start transforms you from someone who drifts through life into someone who creates, builds, and completes. Identity is not just a label. It is action. And when your actions consistently reflect commitment and discipline, your destiny begins changing. This habit taught me the true power of follow-through. It taught me patience, resilience, and self-respect. It showed me that the most important victories are quiet, the ones you win with yourself. Habit 7. Say no without guilt. For a long time, I said yes to everything. Invitations, favors, social events, even unnecessary tasks at work. I could not refuse. I feared disappointing others or being seen as unhelpful. But while I was pleasing everyone else, I was slowly disappointing myself. My time, energy, and focus were being drained. I had no boundaries, and my goals suffered silently. Learning to say no was one of the hardest habits to adopt. At first, my voice felt weak, my mind filled with doubts. Was I being selfish? Would people dislike me? But I realized something important. Saying no does not mean rejecting people. It means protecting yourself so you can give your best when it truly matters. I began practicing boundaries with small actions. I declined a social invitation politely. I refused a favor that would take time away from my personal growth. Each time I said no, I felt a mix of fear and relief. Over time, relief became the dominant feeling, and I started seeing the benefits clearly. Saying no taught me respect. Self-respect first, and then the respect of others. People noticed my focus and discipline. They understood I had priorities and would not be distracted by every request. And I discovered something powerful. The world does not collapse when you decline a request. In fact, clarity and focus often inspire more respect than constant agreement. This habit transformed my productivity and mindset. By saying no to distractions, I said yes to my goals. By declining what drains me, I preserved my energy for meaningful actions. I became more intentional in relationships, work, and personal projects. Saying no is not about being rude. It is about being strategic with your life. It taught me courage, confidence, and clarity. It also reduced stress, because I no longer overcommitted or carried the weight of others' expectations. Now, I protect my time and energy without guilt. I prioritize what aligns with my vision and purpose. I am not selfish. I am disciplined. This habit reinforced the idea that your life is yours to manage. Respect begins with self-respect, and self-respect is built through conscious decisions. Saying no without guilt is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. Over time, it gave me freedom, focus, and peace of mind. It empowered me to grow steadily and consistently, and that is why I consider it a life-changing habit. Habit 8. Weekly self-review. For years, I went from one week to the next without pausing to reflect. I was busy, productive, but directionless. Tasks piled up, but I rarely considered whether I was improving or just moving in circles. Then I decided to dedicate 1 hour each week to a self-review. I grabbed a notebook and asked simple but powerful questions. What did I do well this week? Where did I waste time? What habits helped me grow? What habits held me back? At first it felt unusual. I was not used to examining my own behavior so closely. I noticed mistakes I had ignored, patterns I had never realized, and ways I had sabotaged my progress. Confronting yourself honestly is uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. Over time, this weekly review became a cornerstone of my improvement. Instead of repeating the same mistakes, I started adjusting my habits. Instead of blaming circumstances or other people, I focused on what I could control: myself. Each week, I could see small wins accumulating, and those small wins became motivation for bigger achievements. This habit taught me accountability. I became conscious of my decisions and more intentional in my actions. Planning became precise, not just aspirational. Reflection made me stronger, more self-aware, and more consistent. I also discovered that weekly self-review improved my focus. Knowing I would evaluate my week encouraged me to stay on track daily. My energy was directed purposefully. My goals were clearer, and my confidence grew, because I knew I was progressing. By examining both successes and failures, I learned patience, resilience, and the power of incremental growth. Without this habit, growth feels accidental. With it, growth becomes measurable and deliberate. Small, consistent improvements compound over time, transforming ordinary weeks into extraordinary progress. This simple habit of weekly self-review gave me clarity, self-discipline, and momentum. It reminded me that success is not built in moments of intensity alone, but in consistent reflection and action over time. Through this practice, I gained insight, direction, and the ability to navigate life with purpose, and that is why it became a life-changing habit. Habit 9. Learn one hard thing daily. For years, I avoided challenges that made me uncomfortable. I would stick to easy tasks that felt safe and predictable, convincing myself that comfort was productivity. But I noticed something crucial. My growth was slow, my mind felt stagnant, and I rarely felt accomplished at the end of the day. That's when I decided to adopt a habit that would push me beyond my comfort zone. Learning one hard thing every day. At first, it was intimidating. Hard tasks are designed to challenge your skills, patience, and persistence. It could be a difficult math problem, a new concept I didn't understand, a skill I had never tried, or a subject that required deep thinking. The discomfort was real. My brain resisted, my ego whispered that I wasn't capable, and procrastination tempted me constantly. But I committed anyway. I set aside dedicated time every day to focus on a single, challenging task. It didn't have to be huge. Small, consistent challenges were enough. And gradually, my mindset started to shift. Learning hard things daily strengthened my mental endurance. I became more patient with complexity. I started approaching problems calmly instead of panicking. Each solved challenge built my confidence. Each struggle taught me resilience. I realized that growth is not about talent. It's about the habit of showing up and persisting when it is uncomfortable. This habit also enhanced my creativity. Facing new, difficult problems every day forced my brain to find solutions in novel ways. I connected ideas faster and noticed patterns that were invisible before. My curiosity expanded, and my sense of possibility grew larger than ever. Over time, I discovered that the hardest tasks were the ones that transformed me the most. Easy tasks made me busy. Hard tasks made me powerful. I stopped fearing difficulty and started embracing it. I began to view challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. This habit also reinforced discipline and consistency. By committing to daily effort, I trained my mind to value persistence over immediate comfort. I learned that true growth happens in the daily grind of confronting what scares you. Learning one hard thing daily made me smarter, stronger, and more capable. It changed not only what I knew, but also who I was. I became someone who faces difficulty head-on and thrives because of it. And that is why it became a life-changing habit. Habit 10. Sleep like it's sacred. For years, I treated sleep as optional. I stayed up late scrolling through my phone, watching videos, and working on minor tasks. I told myself I would rest later. But over time, I noticed the consequences. My focus weakened, my mood became unstable, and my energy for important tasks disappeared. Tiredness began to dictate my decisions and my discipline. I realized that without proper sleep, all my efforts during the day were wasted. Then I made a simple but life-changing rule. I would treat sleep as sacred. It was no longer negotiable. Sleep became a priority, not a luxury. I committed to a consistent schedule, aiming for enough rest to recharge both my body and mind fully. At first it was challenging. My brain had been trained to crave stimulation and instant gratification late into the night. Saying no to late-night scrolling and endless work felt uncomfortable. I had to retrain my habits and gradually adjust my bedtime routine to match my natural rhythms. I also started preparing for sleep by dimming lights, turning off notifications, and relaxing my mind through calm breathing. Slowly, I noticed the difference. I woke up feeling refreshed, alert, and motivated. My thoughts were clearer, and my focus sharper. Tasks that previously felt daunting became manageable. I felt more emotionally balanced, patient, and ready to tackle challenges with energy and clarity. Respecting sleep taught me discipline and self-respect. I realized that productivity is not about working every hour, but about working effectively when you are fully energized. Sleep became my secret tool for preparation, allowing me to perform at my best every day. It became the foundation upon which all other habits could thrive. This habit also improved my mental health. Anxiety reduced, mood stabilized, and my ability to handle stress increased. I began making better decisions, thinking more creatively, and responding calmly in situations that previously frustrated me. Sleep was no longer a passive state. It became an active contributor to my growth. Over time, the habit of sacred sleep transformed my life. It allowed me to sustain energy for my habits, my goals, and my personal growth. I no longer fought my body's natural rhythms. I worked with them. Sleep became a foundation for success, discipline, and clarity. This habit taught me that rest is not weakness. It is preparation, power, and respect for oneself. By prioritizing sleep, I could give my best effort every day, think clearly, and approach challenges with resilience and confidence. Sleep like it's sacred, and everything else in your life will improve. It is the invisible habit that strengthens every other habit, and that is why this became a life-changing habit for me. Final reflection. Transform your life with daily habits. Looking back at all 10 habits, one truth becomes clear. Success is built in silence, discipline, and small, consistent actions. Each habit, from protecting your energy to honoring sleep, is not just a task. It is a step toward becoming the person you are meant to be. These habits are invisible forces that shape your mindset, identity, and ultimately, your destiny. The transformation does not happen overnight. It happens daily. Every decision, every pause, every act of focus compounds over time. You may not notice changes immediately, but months of consistent practice will reveal a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of yourself. Your life is your responsibility. No one else can live it for you. Habits are your tools. Protect them. Commit to them. Respect them. Each small habit reinforces the others, creating momentum that propels you forward. At English Mindshift, we focus on building both your mind and your English skills. By understanding and applying life-changing habits, you not only grow personally, but also improve your language, confidence, and clarity. Every step you take toward self-discipline and awareness is a step toward becoming a better version of yourself in every area. Remember, Transformation is not about dramatic changes or sudden inspiration. It is about choosing daily actions that align with your goals, learning from your mistakes, and staying consistent. Start with one habit today, then another, and watch as your life reshapes itself. Apply these lessons, stay committed, and embrace the journey. Your future self will thank you. This is the power of habits. This is the power of growth. And this is the essence of English Mindshift, where mindset and mastery meet to create your best life.